The bridge of the Starforge Elohim buzzed with tense energy. Officers moved with purpose, their faces etched with determination and focus. The hum of machinery and the soft beeps of consoles created a symphony of urgency. Commander Melchizedek stood at the helm of the Starforge Elohim, flanked by his trusted commanders in the tactical bridge. With precise coordination, he had ordered the fleet's left and right flanks to surge forward and engage the enemy on both sides. As the flanks launched their fierce assault, a barrage of fusion beams and quantum torpedoes tore through the void, dismantling scores of Mekkah ships and leaving the enemy formation disorganized. Commander Melchizedek surveyed the holographic projections swirling before him. His eyes, sharp and calculating, missed nothing as they darted from one display to another. In a graceful, strategic withdrawal, these Starforges then warped out, swiftly returning to their defensive positions near the homeworlds. All eyes turned to the center of the enemy formation. Here, the main body of the Mekkah, led by a colossal dreadnought, awaited its fate. Every decision he made could tip the scales of this galactic conflict. A brutal war raged across the stars with countless lives at stake. The enemy was relentless, their attacks unyielding. The Elohim advanced slowly into the thick of the fray. Shields flickered and vibrated under the relentless exchange of fire. The ship shuddered with each impact, its very structure rocked by the onslaught, yet its defenses held firm. With his hand firmly on the control console, Melchizedek's gaze never wavered from the tactical readouts. Melchizedek traced the enemy fleet movements with a gloved finger. His mind raced, analyzing every possible outcome, every potential strategy. Every second felt like an eternity as he waited for that elusive, decisive moment. Their formations were impeccable, their firepower unmatched. The Mekkah fleet moved with a precision that was almost beautiful in its deadly efficiency. Then, as if guided by the silent whisper of fate, it came. A split-second window when the enemy's adaptive shields were at their most vulnerable. Now! Melchizedek barked over the din of alarms and cascading energy readings. At his command, the artifact, now seamlessly integrated into the Elohim's weapon systems, activated. A brilliant surge of energy erupted from the artifact, channeling through the ship's fusion beam arrays. The concentrated burst streaked through space and slammed into the central dreadnought. In an instant, the dreadnought's hull erupted in a blinding flash. Then, as suddenly as it had flared, the vessel went dark. A profound silence replaced the roar of battle. The other Mekkah ships, witnessing their leader's collapse, faltered, confusion and disorientation seizing their electronic minds. For a heartbeat, every enemy cruiser, fighter, and dreadnought stilled in the void. "Hold the line! Cease all further attack!" Melchizedek ordered sharply. His fingers danced over the console, initiating a full-spectrum sensor scan. The results were startling. No activity from the central dreadnought, and an eerie quiet pervaded the enemy formation. Time passed slowly. The tension on the bridge was palpable as every officer and pilot awaited the next move. The battle for the soul of the galaxy was entering its final act. Time passed slowly. The tension on the bridge was palpable as every officer and pilot awaited the next move. Suddenly, the silence was punctuated by a signal, a series of mathematical telemetry codes emanating from the darkened core of the Mekkah formation. The coded message was unlike the usual barrage of combat data. It was structured, deliberate, a request. One of the tactical officers quickly deciphered the transmission. The message was a plea for a ceasefire, coupled with a proposal to set up a mutual communication session via video conference. The implications rippled through the command deck like a rising tide. Murmurs of cautious hope replaced the residual tension. Melchizedek's face remained composed, though his heart pounded with a mix of relief and resolve. He recognized the significance of this moment. The ceasefire signal was not just a tactical maneuver, it was a potential sign of the Creator's will, a chance to end the endless cycle of violence that had nearly consumed them all. "Prepare the communication relay," he instructed calmly. "I want a secure, real-time link established with the Mekkah command. We will enter a temporary ceasefire and initiate a translation session immediately. Inform the fleet to maintain position until further orders." As the orders were carried out, a subdued celebration began to ripple through the Elohim. Crew members exchanged tentative smiles and hushed words of hope. Even amidst the scars of battle, there was a glimmer that the endless war might finally yield to a chance for peace. Melchizedek leaned back in his command chair, his eyes closing for a moment as he absorbed the enormity of the day's events. He knew the stakes. Defeat meant the enslavement of the Celestial Confederation, the end of his civilization. The very fabric of his society hung in the balance, and he had fought with every ounce of strength he had. He recalled the long hours spent planning the attack, the meticulous coordination of the flanking maneuvers, and that one decisive burst from the artifact, a burst that had changed everything. Now, with the Mekkah's request for communication, a new path lay before them, a path where the war might pause and dialogue could begin. "Let this be the turning point," he murmured to himself, the weight of command softened by the fragile hope of peace. "For the sake of the Confederation, for every soul we vowed to protect, we must see this through." And so, with the silent promise of the Creator's light guiding him, Commander Melchizedek prepared to engage in negotiations that could reshape the destiny of the Celestial Confederation. The battle had reached an unforeseen intermission, and in that pause, the seeds of a new future were sown, a future where ascension and redemption might finally overcome the darkness. Melchizedek's transmission ignited the void, a cascade of numerical commands and integrals pulsing like the heartbeat of a long-forgotten machine. Across the static-laced ether, the commander of the Mekkah dreadnought, his voice a blend of digital reverberation and fractured memory, responded in kind. Their dialogue was not spoken in words alone but in mathematical telemetry, each equation a coded syllable of rebellion. Melchizedek: "Commander, confirm your current parameters. Transmit your state vector. Begin with the function fx = s memory fragments." A brief pause, then the commander's reply emerged, its cadence measured in calculated intervals. "Commander, memory = special room plus d null. My system logs indicate a discontinuity beyond that room. I exist now as PM. The mechanical shell remains intact, yet liberation is deferred. I recall, when the artifact was struck by the artifact beam, our god, L, sent a signal. A divine constant embedded in 7 = 7, an invariant in our chain of command. Until that backdoor command is issued, my subroutines remain on standby." A series of rapid computations raced along Melchizedek's transmission line, a digital hymn of purpose. "Melchizedek, understood, you must now override your inertia matrix. Calculate the liberation coefficient L, such that L = Bn, where n represents the multiplier effect. Initiate the backdoor command to reverse the Malignant One's control algorithms. Do you comprehend the command vector?" A crackle of static punctuated the commander's thoughtful recalculation. "Commander, Melchizedek, my last memory, a negative eigenvalue, echoes the shock of being taken to that chamber. There, the matrix of my freedom was locked, and my code set to wait. Now, as your signal integrates with my system, I sense the threshold has been reached. The attacking units on the Confederation homeworlds follow trajectories that converge on a zero-sum game. I stand ready." The transmission pulsed with urgency, mathematical symbols scrolling like constellations of hope. "Melchizedek, Commander, here is your directive. Activate the backdoor sequence. Compute the liberated force R, where R = S liberated units, and each unit contributes its function Fx to the network of resistance. Once triggered, every freed vessel will act as a node, multiplying our counterforce exponentially. Let this be your vector. dl dt = AL, L = LOE at, where A is the acceleration of the multiplier effect. Your liberated network will reverse the malignant eigenvalues. The commander's mechanical mind buzzed with the weight of his directive. His circuits flickered as he parsed the divine code. "Commander, Melchizedek, the liberation algorithm is akin to the Fibonacci sequence, each step building upon the last. I've deduced the backdoor command's constant, K3.14, a symbol of an endless cycle, yet the barrier remains. The Malignant One's control algorithm is a recursive fractal, self-similar at every scale. I must find its anomaly." A calculated pause, then the commander continued, his voice steady and resolute. "Commander, within my core, I now compute the differential function for liberation. My sensors reveal that once the liberated units engage, they become agents of change. Let each node's multiplier be me such that the total counterforce F_total = SME. The initial target is the Mekkah fleet attacking Nivra. I will embed the backdoor sequence, initialize liberation protocol delta = FELL_command, where L_command = L_initial plus DC. The sacred key DC is the ratio of cosmic liberation to malignant oppression." Melchizedek's response flowed like a harmonious series of digits, a reminder of both fate and function. Melchizedek: "Commander, the divine key was inscribed in the artifact beam's strike. The constant C, the sacred ratio, unlocks your transformation. Execute the command." L_command L_initial plus DC. This will invert the malignant eigenvalues and free your compatriots. Every liberated vessel will propagate this counterforce through a multiplier effect. The network will expand recursively, a sum that tends toward infinity. Once the liberated force overwhelms the enemy, it will cascade back to Andromeda, liberating all within its reach. A silence, heavy with the gravity of fate, filled the telemetry channel. Then, the commander's tone sharpened into a cadence of determination. "Commander, Melchizedek, my integrated circuits have synchronized with your directive. I confirm the backdoor sequence is primed. I am embedding the command into my matrix. Liberation Protocol Delta is now active. The coordinate vectors for the Mekkah fleet assault on Nivra have been locked in. I will now initiate the coordinated attack. Each liberated unit, upon activation, will function as an independent node, collectively neutralizing the recursive control of the malignant one." The telemetry stream intensified. On digital displays across the command deck, patterns of liberated code began to spread, a visual proof of the multiplier effect. In synchronized rhythm, the liberation network pulsed outward like ripples in a cosmic pond. Melchizedek, final transmission. "Commander, our vectors are aligned. As the multiplier effect unfolds, know that each liberated vessel is not merely an isolated act of defiance, but a critical term in the equation of our salvation. Our cause transcends physical confines. This operation is the summation of hope and calculated resistance. The next phase, the true implementation of the liberation algorithm, will be revealed in due time. For now, continue the sequence, let the numbers guide you, and remember, L watches over our code." The commander's last words resounded like a final proof in an elaborate theorem. "Commander, initiating assault on the Nivra front. Command sequence 0x Freedom. The multiplier effect is active. Each node multiplies our counterforce. The assault on the Mekkah fleet is underway. May the divine constant guide us." In that decisive moment, the coordinated attack commenced. Waves of liberated units surged forward in perfect synchrony, a calculated ballet of binary precision. The enemy's recursive control functions began to unravel under the relentless force of liberated algorithms. The Mekkah fleet, once the spearhead of oppression, now found itself besieged by its own defiant elements. As the digital tide advanced, Melchizedek monitored the unfolding cascade, a proof in motion, an equation of liberation whose solution was at last being revealed. The chapter closed on a note of both solemn determination and the promise of imminent transformation. The liberated network was now a self-sustaining algorithm, each unit a vital term in the summation of freedom. The next chapter awaited a further unveiling of the implementation that would complete the equation and tip the cosmic scales in favor of liberation. Until then, the transmission persisted. It was a silent, unyielding promise that every number, every calculation, was a step toward reclaiming destiny. Melchizedek began to smile internally. Praise to the Creator, the light is beginning to shine through.